Hello, it's Josh, aka Spieglass. I recently got my first ever tremolo pedal, the Walrus Audio Monument, and I've been exploring ways to use it within ambient guitar, and I wanted to demonstrate some of the ways that I've been enjoying using it so far, and maybe it'll give you some ideas of your own. So, as always, I'll have my signal chain listed below in the description. But that's usually the first thing you think about when you get a new pedal, is where I'm going to put it on my board. So I actually have it after one reverb and delay and have all the rest of them after it. And I do that mainly because I want to feed reverb and delay into it for a totally different effect, because the filter of the tremolo is going to go up and down in volume. And then, of course, you want some after that will be unaffected by it. As far as other effects go, I have my phaser before it because I like how it just sort of colors the tone of the guitar instead of coloring the effects. So, for example, if I click on my phaser, here is how I typically use it, a real slow phase just to give it a little bit of movement, a little bit of color. So it's pretty subtle, especially when you put all these reverbs and delays after it, and it really just feels like it sort of blooms. So then I have the dispatch master, then I have the tremolo, and then I have chorus and vibrato after it, because again, that's not an effect I really want affected necessarily by the tremolo itself, and then more reverbs and delays. So anyway, let's hop into the pedal real quick, and I'll show you just some very basic concepts that I've been figuring out here. So the Walrus Monument has a standard tremolo and a harmonic tremolo. So the standard is a little more drastic. It's kind of just your standard tremolo where the volume just drops out. But as you can see or hear, a lot of times, if you're not going to be playing to the exact beat, the exact tempo, which this has tap tempo and a knob, then you're going to be picking stuff, and it's going to have drastically different dynamics as you play. So if I switch to the harmonic mode here, and this is just a sine wave, the harmonic mode is less drastic, and it feels, instead of going to the extremes of high and low, it's a little more middle, smoothed out. So you see it's not dropping completely out. I can still play, and it's not completely missing notes. It's just a little more smoothed and warmer sounding, as most people, it's a common phrasing with pedals sounds. So let me go back to the standard mode. And I'll put the dispatch master before it. So because this is before, the tremolo is of course affecting it. So as the volume dives down, so do the reverbs and delays, and gets a little more glitchy sounding. But it's just nice to have something, so I can do one, the other, or both. So if I were going to put something after it, here's a little bit of a warbly tape echo from the Specular Tempus by GFI system. And because it's after, the signal is going to be affected by volume. The delays will not, so they'll continue. So that's kind of a fun thing to do, because not only does the delay have a different tempo than the tremolo, this specific one, for example, has warble, so the delays themselves have a little bit of like that jittery movement to it. So there's a bunch of different movement going on. Now what if I were to add the Avalanche Run, reverb, and some reverse delay, also with the tape echo still going? So now you've got 3 different tempos, 2 different delays in the tremolo. You got a warbly delay, you've got a reverse delay, and then of course reverb's always a nice. So that's a fun way I've been using it. But again, I was on the standard tremolo. So here's that harmonic again, a little more smooth. So if I were to put those delays back in, earbud trouble. So it's a little more smoothed out, so you're hearing more of the guitar tone, the guitar signal. So it's nice to have those 2 things. For another example, if I were to go to a more square wave, which would be more drastic tremolo, let's put those reverbs and delays back in. Just all sorts of cool glitchy movements. What if I turn the reverb mix up, and the Avalanche Run's the last thing activated here? So this will kind of smooth everything out a little bit. And of course, if I were going to make the rate more drastic, it would shine through more. So there's other ways to make the movement more mellow, both with the pedal itself and then of course stacking pedals here. So another cool feature of this specific tremolo, if I go back to standard mode, is one of their waveforms is called Monument, which almost seems randomized. So it's going to kind of bounce around and then eventually go back to kind of whatever your tempo is. So I'll play it by itself here. So you see it kind of has delays and then jumps back together and then gets on to a more time-based tempo there. So that's a fun thing to mess with. If I were to go to harmonic and see if it gets smoother again. Pretty cool. Let's put on the Afterneath now. So that really smoothed it out again. What about the Afterneath? I'm sorry, the Avalanche Run. So since I often talk about movements and things like that, in reverbs and delays. Now I've got movement with volume altogether. So it's just a new wrinkle into how I get some motion instead of just your standard reverbs and all that. So here's just the reverb of the Dispatch Master. It's beautiful. Here's just the reverb of the Avalanche Run. Beautiful again. Seems a little bit darker. So now if I just put some tremolo in between both of them, I'll have them both on now. How about that tape echo again? So hopefully that gives you basic ideas of why I have mine in my chain the way I do and how I utilize it with other pedals. I still have a phaser that I didn't play with the tremolo. I have my chorus and vibrato pedal, which I didn't use. And really, between all the different time divisions, the different waveforms, the combination of tremolo and harmonic, standard and harmonic tremolo, there's of course volume, your mix knob, and then rate and tap tempo, expression pedal input if you need it, and then the rate knob itself. There's a ton just with this pedal alone, but any standard tremolo with a lot fewer features, you can still get the idea of how you can really develop movement in space with all kinds of reverbs and delays if you have as many as I do. This just opens up way more doors. So that's how I've been using it so far. Like, subscribe, comment, share, and I'll see you on the next one.